Pavel Sinelnikov is the CEO of Koris and the co-founder of the DAC portal by Metis. A DAC is a decentralized autonomous company, and Koris' vision is to create a best-in-class experience when it comes to finding work in Web3. So whether you're a DAO looking for workers to execute on your vision, or you're a freelancer looking for your next gig in Web3, this is the episode for you. But before we get into that, I need you to make sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, that you've liked this video, and that you have left me a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app. This one's super interesting, and you're not going to want to miss anything, so make sure you stick around till the end. So with that, let's get into episode 12 of the Rad DAO podcast. Let's go! I'd like to welcome Pavel Sinelnikov to the show. Pavel's the co-founder of the DAC portal and the CEO of Koris, who's building enterprise solutions for Web3. Welcome, Pavel. Thank you for coming on.
Excellent. Glad to be on.
Oh, it's good to have you. It's good to have you, a fellow Canadian, which is not common in the Web3 space, but it's great to talk to you, man. So tell me about what's going on. Why Web3, and how did you sort of end up in the position that you're in now?
Yeah, absolutely. So Web3 started out as a journey. It's never really like a concrete decision that anybody makes initially. It's like, oh, cool. What's this whole crypto thing, and then like, how does this work? What, where are the opportunities present? So a lot of what got me into this space was the technology, just how it all worked, and how so many people were interested in it, and then that got me to be more interested in like, how do I find more solutions that enable more people to be using this, because it often gets very complicated. But what got me into this space is mainly the tech, how they can be used, and how it can be used in a way where not one person controls everything.
No, it's a great point, and I think a lot of people come for the tech. I mean, there's those that come to ultimately try to get rich at the end of the day, and if that's a nice bonus, then have at her. But I think the space needs more people that are interested in the foundations of it, and building and figuring out how to implement this technology, because at the end of the day, it is a technology, and it is going to have real world use cases beyond sort of the existing base. So it's nice to have, fresh minds coming into the space trying to drive the next leg of it. So why don't you talk me through kind of your initial product rather, and sort of how it's evolving and what you're trying to do with it, really.
Absolutely, yeah. And we recently released our protocol. It's called our platform, actually. It's called Koris. And what Koris aims to do is making it easier and more streamlined to run your DAO like a business. So DAOs often have complicated governance structures. They often have it's very difficult to get started in terms of the DAO space. You need to relearn all of the tools and applications that every DAO is using, and then you need to, as a maybe core contributor, or as a person that wants to do freelance work on the side, you need to know and adapt to each structure, sort of learn the community's in and outs before you can actually start doing work. So we want to make more of a structure that makes it easier for people to come on board and start working for a DAO. And then, so that's the concept that we're creating. It's called a DAC, a decentralized autonomous company. And that's more of like working groups where people can come in and actually do things for DAOs and work in DACs to, at the end of the day, benefit the organization as a whole.
So one of the things that I've been sort of struggling with is, this is the Rad DAO podcast, but I use the word DAO more in just a collective of people in a decentralized way. It's not a formal DAO in that there's governance or anything gated by a token or an NFT. But one of the things I struggle with is I don't have a technical background. Like, I wouldn't know where to begin if I were to wanting to set up something like a DAO. So I'm always looking for things to make my life simpler. And I was cruising around your site, the DAC portal there last night. It seems pretty easy, honestly. Like, it doesn't seem very complicated to get going. So, I mean, talk me through it. What was who is going to be using this platform in your perfect vision of what this ends up being?
Yeah, great question. So there's two main types of groups that we envision using the platform. One of the groups is founders and core contributors. So these are people that spend most of their time doing day-to-day operations for a DAO. This can be people that are onboarded to, for example, manage community processes. These can be people that are managing marketing. These are people that are managing the day-to-day development operations, the people that are doing basically day-to-day activities, the people doing the work, and sort of coordinating people to eventually do the work. We also envision a second variety of people and second core group of people, and these are the contributors. These are the people that are the ones that want to contribute within the space. They have a core skill set. They maybe be a designer, a consultant, a developer, an advisor, maybe some accountants or things. They have a specialized skill set that they can offer to a DAO, but they need tools to get started and tools to get coordinated. So these are the two main groups of people. So people doing day-to-day operations as well as people looking to contribute to a DAO and hopefully earn revenue doing so.
So is the inability to sort of handle sophisticated payroll and employees, it's sort of, is that one of the limitations that you see with the existing DAO model right now?
So the main DAO model currently is a lot of governance structures. So a lot of bureaucracy in that case. So you need to, in order to get any type of funding or any type of activity that you want to get started, you have to create a proposal. For some DAOs, other DAOs operate differently, and that's also part of the complications that there's no really cohesive system where you would flow through. And so you have to really understand the in and outs before you can even contribute to a DAO. So in this case, the complication would be that we're trying to solve is more streamlining the process of getting from 0 to 1 in terms of, okay, I want to contribute. Here's the skill set that I offer, and then here's the amounts that I charge for doing this activity. So we don't focus more so on the employment, since that goes into like a lot of the regulatory bounds, and then you need to really have like a clear understanding of like laws and regulation. You need to speak to like a legal advisor for this. We want to more so target the contractor model or the
Okay.
contributor model. So ways that you can contract different types of work, and then for people to come in and work for these types of initiatives. Later on, we might expand to that employability aspect, and then we'll have like a clear distinction in terms of these. But right now, it's more so contractor based.
Well, I think that fits the space really, because I think most people working in Web3 operate on sort of a semi-contract basis. But I've been involved with a few projects, and it's tricky, right? Because if there's a sole owner of the project, you're entirely reliant on them paying you on whatever agreed upon schedule or amount, and you have no recourse as an employee if that doesn't pan out. So how does the decentralized autonomous company model on your platform sort of address that type of issue?
Yeah, we address that issue based on a trustless aspect. So, in a sense, we want things to be more transparent in terms of operations. We want things to be more visible, essentially. So, transparency, verifiability, and immutability is the core fundamentals of any blockchain ecosystem. And so, we want to embody that within our type of application. So, initially all of the transactions that a DAC would operate. So any type of interactions would be public. That way you can see, hey, has this DAC been paying its employee or not employees, paying its contributors? Has this DAC been active? Has it been? Does it have a good track record? So we have a reputational component where people can see the track record of a DAC and sort of have it be on chain and verifiable. So kind of like a better business bureau or Glassdoor structure, all within that platform. And then in addition to that, we want payments to be handled in a way where if there is disagreement, that the contributor doesn't just get nothing, that they would get as part of the previous agreement that they've signed, it'd be smart contract based. So both parties would sign this smart contract agreement. There would be an amount escrowed, and then the amount would be allocated proportionally based on the amount of time that the work has been completed. So if the contract was closed early, then both sides would get the proportional amount based on, and if it was closed early due to like an externality, let's say the work wasn't completed to the sufficient quality or whatnot, there would be a penalty. But essentially, everyone walks away with something. So in this way, we aim to minimize the type of legal arbitration processes that might occur, and sort of where everyone walks away with something, and then they can continue on and building up their reputation and doing more work. And we envision that the more people spend on the platform, the more people contribute, the more people do things, that it can be clearly evident which ones are legitimate DACs, which ones are legitimate DAOs that can do legitimate work, as well as with contributors, more legitimate work they do, they can be more trusted, and as that they can deliver more and more products that would suit the needs of the DAC. So it'd be through more usage, you have a clear understanding of which people are serious in the space and want to benefit, and as a result, you'll do more work with them.
No, it's a super interesting model, and there's a few follow-ups from everything you talked about there, and I want to get back to the reputation thing because I thought it was a very interesting component of the DAC structure that you guys had built in. But I just kind of want to walk through a hypothetical situation just so I fully understand kind of the end-to-end here. So if I'm a graphic designer and you've hired me to, I don't know, design your white paper, for example, as a DAO or whatever it is, and we get, we sign the escrow. Who's holding the escrow? Is that on your platform, or does that go to some sort of multi-sig, or how does that work?
Yeah. So in a sense, it would be allocated to a smart contract.
Okay, so right into the contract then.
Yeah.
So then I, as the creator, say, okay, I have finished my work per our agreement. I go in and to this contract, and I say complete. Then it sends to you for review, I would imagine. And then who decides if the work is sort of up to where it should have been? And then if it isn't, who decides what that penalty is going to be?
Yeah. So that would be a agreements done before the actual work is started. So
Okay.
both sides would know exactly what engagement that they're going into, what type of penalties are involved, if any, and what type of arbitration mechanism would be present as well. So in this case, both you and me, if I were hiring a graphic designer to design my white paper, I would send a proposal in a form of a smart contract saying
Okay.
that here's how it's laid out, here's the type of structure, and do you agree? So you as the designer have to take a look, you have to weigh out, am I okay with potentially accepting a penalty if it comes down to that? Am I okay with engaging in this type of work agreement? I'm okay with it. The amount gets escrowed, and then the engagement starts. There can be a variety of different ways that you can arrange structures, including having no penalties and just saying that once the contract is complete, no matter what, that the end user gets that amount allocated to them. But we want that flexibility also to be present within the system so that people can decide whether or not to engage in agreements based on their core business needs. And so, so depending on the risk factor of the contributor and the DAC, you might have different types of agreements for different types of contributors. Maybe there's one person that's been more reputable, that has done thousands of jobs, and that you see them not having really a big risk factor in not delivering what you're asking for. You might not have that clause of penalty. Versus if a person just started out, if they're completely brand new, you might have that clause just to not pay for work that's not being done to the liking of the DAC. So it's all just essentially that negotiation, basically like an OTC that occurs, but more of like an OTC for the work that's being done.
Okay, so me as a contributor, I have a reputation score attributed to me, and then you as a DAC owner also have a reputation assigned to? Okay, and then so sort of like this, like a self-governing model where you pick the people that have the higher ratings to do the work because they have the reputation, and that grows over time with your body of work. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting model. You guys have thought of a lot of different stuff here. Just going back to the sort of the contract side of things, I'm going to guess that a lot of graphic designers don't know how to submit a smart contract proposal. So have you made that simple for normies like I to go in and do that?
Yeah. So the core the core infrastructure is using smart contracts, but we aim to make templates available, like kind of how there's already legal templates for employment contracts that are out there that people can come in, copy, use, change the names. We aim to make those like smart contract templates, so people can have maybe and then have it easily be summarizable, saying that if any type of penalty occurs, that's like a 25% penalty. And so, or if work is submitted late, that's like an additional penalty. So you can set these types of things based on the contract. That's going to be for the future. And by the way, right now, our platform doesn't support these types of interactions right now. We're still in early beta testnet. So we have everything's on testnet right now, but we will eventually transition it over to mainnet, and then we'll have these types of future expansions as the application grows. And we do want it to be very flexible as well, so people can create their own type of contracts as well. Just like how in the legal realm you have different types of agreements like NDAs, and you have the different types of agreements for any type of employment. And this way, it's clear to both parties what is exactly being what exact actions would be done in that sense. So it's a better legal agreement in this case because it's actually actionable through that smart contract. So to answer shortly, yeah, we'll have that ability to for normies to post smart contracts as an easy way to deploy it, like templates.
No, that's great to hear. And I know we're talking roadmap, and not all of this is live now, and we can touch on sort of what it looks like now in a bit. But I want to get to the heart of this, which is the idea that I don't know who to trust in this space at all. There's the saying, trust people or trust code, not people. I trust people, not code, because I don't understand how to read the code. So sort of for the contributors, what safeguards are in place if you are using, say, a custom contract as a DAC for me to know that there isn't some sort of loophole or something that they can get out of, the agreed upon, structure. Like I always worry about backdoors and that sort of thing. So how do I audit it, basically?
Yeah, that's also just a bigger part of auditability within any contract, really. Like if I interact with any DeFi protocol, there's always layers of trust. So in this case, I trust the auditors that they've done their job at looking at the code and saying that it's good. But even then, you still have to trust the auditors that they did their job. In this case, we want it to be very clear in terms of so transparency is always one of our top motivating factors. How we do it, again, it's we want it just to be in clear English what the results of the contract execution would be, and auditable templates are of course would be preferred in the platform. Of course, you can create your own legal contracts, but how that, or not legal, sorry, you can create your own contracts and use that as a method of escrow. But there could be potential backdoors with that. But the additional concept of how you say that you trust people more than code, and I think that's really the natural way that people work, right? Like I go to conferences and I trust the person that they're doing something legitimate because I see them at the conference, and because I saw them, then that means that they are serious about this space and that they want to do work rather than just some random person online that contacts me out of the blue and says, hey, I'm gonna do this thing. With this, so what we want to do is we want to track the amount of work that has been started and the amount of work that has been completed. So essentially the completion rate that we want to track within the platform. So that way you can do both. You can trust the person and you can trust the completion rate. And just like how people evaluate in the Web2/Web3 space by resumes, right? I look at your resume and maybe I see that there's a gap in the work that you've done for that period of time. And so the interviewer, if they're doing due diligence, they're going to ask, okay, why is there this gap? Same reason why, same reason before I hire someone, I would say, oh, why is your completion rate lower than what's average? So you can perform these types of trust-based due diligence checks before you begin the work, and then using that on-chain resume as a means to execute any type of business transaction before you actually hire. So you would do those due diligence checks before you would actually onboard the person to do the work. So that's what we want to happen, where it's not just you trusting the code, it's that you're using the metrics from the platform that you've established as a means to verifiably come in and say, okay, here's the information that I have. Can you please clarify? And then they would clarify, and then you would do business. So you're not trusting the code just like that, but you're also using due diligence checks as a means to evaluate candidates that way.
Got it. Got it. So then going back to the whole reputation thing, obviously it's important on both the contributors and the owner's side of things, but what about just a normal network participant? Do they have a role to play in the DAC structure as well, or is it solely about connecting, owners with contributors?
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. Can you repeat the question?
I'm talking about a regular network participant, not someone that's coming in for skills, but wants to be a part of the ecosystem. Like, what role do they play in this whole thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess as we target mainly two groups of people, so people that are either founders of their own DACs or contributors of other people's DACs. There's I guess two groups that we would segment the people that are using the platform. So in this case, if you're just a user, right? If you're you could be a customer of the DAO or a DAO that currently exists. You do business with it. You might have consulting with the DAO that is there, but the DAO itself needs to have its internal processes in line to know who should I assign to this client of mine. Who should I assign to get work done within this space. So I guess to answer your question, like who would use the platform if I'm just an average user, you would fit into those two groups, but the end result would benefit the customer or the person that would go into the DAO, maybe looking for activities or looking for different types of opportunities within it. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, no, I think I meant, so I was looking through the DAC portal yesterday. I think you have 499-ish active DACs or something. And it seems, so to start one, basically, I think it's 10 minimum metas that you need to start a DAC, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And you basically stake it, right? Like you're a network participant at that point?
Yeah, I guess in the, that's the V1 version of the DAC portal. So the version 2 would be Koris. So this is, I guess, that one was launched when the Metis Andromeda mainnet launched, which was roughly around November. And in this case, people were able to create these DACs, and it was primarily used as a place that you can stake Metis tokens and then earn I guess an amount, like liquidity mining essentially. In this case, we are adjusting the business model in terms of not having it be staking. In this case, it's more for just that future of work aspect. So
got it.
I guess version 1 is more of like the proof of concept that you can use it for
Yeah.
this means, but then we also see the future potential of using it for these types of work-based interactions and not just a way that people can join together and perhaps invest. And that's how we differ from other types of DAO tooling platforms. For example, Syndicate DAO focuses more on investments, right? So they pool together funds, and same thing with DAO House. They focus more on pooling together funds and then people being able to vote on where the funds would go, and then that's their mechanism. But ours is more of, we have working groups, people that want to do work. Here's a structured way of doing that work, and then here's that interface for doing it easily, essentially.
Got it. Got it. I'm gonna be honest. I'm way more excited about the concept of a decentralized sort of connection hub of people that have reputation and are working in the industry than another basically layer two delegation kind of staking portal. But it's good to have a proof of concept to make it easy to understand for people how to set these things up, and then you can take it to the next wave. So totally makes
Exactly.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the people that may check out the links, then what you see there is just scratching the surface of sort of the features and the idea behind everything. So that's really good. And I guess, why did this need a Web3 solution in the first place? Like, I see a lot of projects out there building, they're recreating basically stuff that exists in Web2 already. And there may be some issues with it in the fact that, like, all of the money is centralized with a business and that business may vaporize overnight. I think that's a lot of the motivation. But you were looking around the market, like, let's just use a platform like Fiverr, for example. It's great. It works. It connects freelancers with people, but it's a platform centrally owned. Like, why did you dive into this space to begin with?
Yeah, I like how you compared Fiverr. There's also different other types of, I guess, the contractor-based models like Upwork, but yeah, Fiverr was a big inspiration for what we're aiming to accomplish, and why specifically that Web3 based solution is necessary. We see that there's no real Web3 alternative, or there's no real way to easily hire work within a DAO. And especially to get that as a single solution where I can come in, onboard people directly within like founders and core contributors within this structure, and then allow these founders and core contributors to hire contractors within this platform. So Fiverr is more so, if I'm already an established business, I want a person to do one task, and then I hire through the platform. So that's when I already have basically like a Web2 type of structure. I need to contract this out, and then I go to Fiverr. In this case, what we want to do is we want to have the DAO core contributors and founders being present in that way, and then being able to have them assign who gets that responsibility of hiring these people, who gets that responsibility of how much they're being paid, who gets that responsibility of onboarding additional members, who gets that responsibility of managing the treasury as well. So it's kind of Fiverr would be one type of aspect within our model, but we also want to embody that treasury management style and like the assignment of responsibility of who gets access. And then that might be one pathway that people might choose to maybe hire through Fiverr. But and then there might be that other pathway of okay, maybe I want to use that smart contract based approach to simplify the who would get what for that engagement, and having that Web3 based payment method. We also want to not limit it to just individual freelancers, right? So Fiverr, Upwork, freelancer.com, so they have really their model is based off of individual freelancers that come onto the platform. And sure, there might be like some evaluation methods to pick out the best candidates. Gun.io also embodies that, that like, hey, we select the candidates that are best for the platform. What we want is more so I'm running a DAC. My DAC has many individual members that can do work for your business. And so if I go onto Fiverr, maybe I'm making like a bigger product. If I'm making like, some like marketplace, or if I'm making an entire application redesign, right? I'm going to need maybe a designer, a front end developer, back end developer, a smart contract developer. I need to have maybe a content writer. I need to have basically all these people. And to hire all of these people through Fiverr is likely going to have complications, because now you need a person managing all these people to be able to do this type of business. And that might lack coordination. That might put you in that same aspect of nobody knows who's doing what and who's assigning work to who. Instead, what we want to see is you have these firms, DACs, which can do the application redesign all on its own. So I contact this DAC, which is a development DAC, which can do application redesign. And the DAC itself knows the best people to put on the job. So I would instead of me picking out the best candidates through Fiverr and trying to organize everything, I would instead go to the DAC, which the DAC would put together all of the relevant people to then execute the task. So that we see as being a better result. And that way you can have these employment contracts from DACs to DACs. So instead of hiring individual contributors to do one bit of work, you can hire an entire DAC to do that work. So it's sort of like a DAO to DAO based model instead of DAO to contributor. Although we still support that DAO to contributor, but the bigger picture is that we can create more of this type of interconnectedness within the platform through this DAC to DAC model.
And how would I, as either a contributor looking for work, or B, a DAC looking for contributors, like how do I flag that I want this type of work done? Is it like a bid and tender process, or like what does that look like?
Yeah, and again, that's why I say Fiverr is a good inspiration, because it's more of instead of employees or contractors coming to you and saying, hey, I can do this work, right? I get tons of messages on LinkedIn, on email and whatever saying, hey, I'm a development firm, or I'm a developer, I'd like a job, or whatnot. It's that, maybe I'd want them to do the job, but not at this moment, right? I'm not looking. We want that ability for the DAC to come in and choose to hire based on its current needs, that it's looking to have an application redesign right now. And so, a month before it wasn't looking to do that, but it's looking to do it right now. So now it's going to then contact these firms, which are specialists in this type of application redesign, and then they would be able to execute. So instead of hiring people to come in and cold call, it would be more so the business would come to you, or the DAC would come to you for executing this work. And so we see that as like a better alternative to come to the people rather than to cold call people that don't really need to do work right now. It's that now you have active clients that are reaching out to these firms that can do the work and that can say that, okay, yes, we have the resources to do this. So we see that as a better way to connect customers to the businesses that can execute on those types of interactions.
No, I agree. The model fits, and as long as it's simple for everybody involved, I think that that's going to be key. And the UI that you've built, at least on phase one, looks good. It's easy to navigate, and it's very visually appealing. So I think if that extends beyond into everything in the roadmap that you're going to do, the adoption will be there. But one of the problems that I see with adoption is the tribalism around chains. And obviously you're on an Ethereum layer 2, so it's a solidity-based development coding language, which is, we'll call it as universal as crypto gets, basically. But how are you going to deal with interoperability? Because I'd imagine that a lot of the people that are going to be looking for work are freelance developers that have a certain set of skills, but they may be Polygon experts. They might not be Ethereum, or whatever it is, AVAX experts. There's nuance between there, right? So how are you going to address interoperability and different cross-chain aspects of it down the line?
Yeah, there are different chains that currently exist, right? There's BSC, there's Ethereum, there's Phantom, there's different types of EVM based chains that exist. My personal view is that I don't see too much differences between each different chain. They all use Solidity as a programming language. They all are EVM compatible. They all have the same execution style. Right, you send a transaction, that transaction gets executed and then done. They all support smart contracts. So, and then including the layer twos that are currently on Ethereum as well. So, what I see is that it won't matter to the end user which chain is being used as this sort of method of value transfer, method of here's how much I'm paying you. It might matter to DAOs, right, that are developed on specific chains. Maybe I'm on Ethereum. I'm not going to use any other thing because I'm my community is on Ethereum, and that was a problem that we've experienced with a lot of other chains that don't, or sorry, not a lot of other projects that are set on our community is here. We don't want to move. So, in order to solve this, in order to expand, we are supporting multi-chain integration. So, because our contracts are Solidity based, we can deploy them on many different types of chains, on Avalanche, on Phantom, on BSC, on Arbitrum, on Metis. So right now we currently support Metis, and right now we've chosen that as more of like a business decision, because Metis is currently the lowest costing layer two. So in this case, I'm able to make transactions that are very cost effective, and then that would attract more so of these smaller jobs that are done, right? I don't want to pay, I don't know, 10 bucks to someone and pay a $20 gas fee or something like that.
If you're
So
lucky, depending on the market.
yeah, exactly. Or like, hold on, wait a day before we execute this. It's
That's
like
nuts, isn't it? It's ridiculous that, oh, there's a Bored Ape mint going on. Nobody else used the network for the next 12 hours. It's like, what kind of system is that?
exactly. So, we found out that it's the most cost-effective means of this ability to transfer. But of course, we do want to support other chains and their needs as well. So, or other projects, I mean, and their needs as well. So we will have that multi-chain aspect, and contracts can be deployed in the future. Since we're still, beta testnet, we want to focus on Metis currently, because it's the lowest costing. But later on, we do plan to support other layer twos and layer ones as well that are EVM based, and potentially, when things get more robust in terms of that compatibility with EVM, Solana and other Polkadot based substrate based the chains that are on Polygon based, or not Polygon, Polkadot, yeah.
I'm really curious to see how Polkadot does. Like, I've been waiting a couple years to see it really take off. It's a fascinating idea, the whole thing, but I've heard from some developers that it's not fun to build on. But I think that they're just used to the ease that it is Solidity.
Yeah. So there's you can't really beat the taking a contract and deploying it on another chain and then just having it all work and not having to re-audit it every single time. It's yeah, definitely more cost effective that way, and easier development experience. But we don't see that as mainly a limiting factor. So we want to support every chain. But yeah, we see that in order to onboard the next users, they won't really care that you're using Ethereum or
This
Polygon. I
is
mean, and end result is that gas fee, right? But at the end
that's
of the day, it's like everyone has their own type of like chain, but it won't really matter to Web2 at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's something I've been preaching for a while on this show is just the idea is that in order to get mainstream adoption, people shouldn't be realizing that they're using a blockchain in any way. It
Exactly.
shouldn't feel like right now it very much feels like you're using some sort of new tech to send a transaction, right? I still like panic when I hit the send button, like, oh, did I fuck that up? Or and then it's like it's 5 minutes later than it should be on the transaction block, and I'm like, where is it? Meanwhile it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
Kucoin that held it up or something. So simplicity and ease of access. Like, please explain to me how your email works. You probably can't, right? And I for sure can't. But it's easy. You type the email and you hit send, and then something happens and it gets where it needs to go.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we all have to get to and stop this tribalism nonsense. I mean, it's good to have a community, but it's also better to have everybody on board, on whatever chain works the best. Like you look at it in terms of like cell phone towers, there's data sharing across cell phone towers, regardless of who owns the infrastructure, because it just makes sense to have that kind of network coverage because everybody wins. So you got to start somewhere. You got to start on one chain. You don't want to complicate the shit out of anything, but at the same time, you want to have your eye to the future of where we're headed, which it sounds like you do.
Yeah, exactly. And also one additional point, we support email and Discord logins, so they don't even need a MetaMask or Wallet Connect or anything of this sort to start using. And we also support gasless transactions, which means that you don't have to have any network token to actually pay gas fees. So you can that those gas fees can be paid by uh, essentially it could be the DAC, for example. So the DAC can, for its onboarding costs, they can basically allocate an amount to uh, pay for users to join the DAC, pay the gas fees for those users. So we want to, and like even so, even if you're using any other chain, you can still interact with whatever that we have, because your users don't need to have that network token in order to interact with it.
That's really interesting. It removes such a big roadblock of people that aren't familiar with Web3 but have great skills and allowing them to actually get into the space and start contributing. That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
Wow. So, what's next? Like, we've talked a lot about sort of what's coming. Do you have any sort of milestones set out for the next, few quarters of 23? Like, where are you trying to get to this year?
Yeah, but so that whole mechanism that I described with that contractor to DAC model or DAC to DAC model, that still is more so in the architecture stage. So we have the diagrams, we have everything laid out. Now we're in that process of actually building and implementing it. But right now, we actually have our waitlist live on our website, so Koris.io, and where we want to attract basically DAOs that see that potential of expanding their different skill sets, or sorry, expanding their operations to be more transparent and to see that they're actually getting work done. So we want to attract DAOs and then get feedback for how everything is implemented. So currently, our current features on our beta testnet are that we have the treasury management capability. So using Gnosis Safe infrastructure, or using Gnosis Safe, sorry, contracts. And in addition, we also have a project management task board. So people are able to assign different tasks to different contributors that then can get completed, or get the progress can be tracked. We do have a governance dashboard where people can vote on specific proposals for within that DAC. So we see DAC level governance being a key part, maybe like feature discovery or feature requests, and then maybe like that upvote ability to say that, hey, we want this. And then we also support we also will support that contract interaction and just transferring the funds. So from the DAC. So in these cases, so it is I would say, like, in terms of operation, it's like minimum. but it's a good baseline to expand it and to essentially showcase it to people what the potential is, as well as where we're headed in that terms of um, pathway for that the future of work. So yeah, currently the wait list is live, and yeah, people can come in, register, and see how we can work together on bringing on board their DAOs or Web3 businesses to uh, become a DAC, or at least a DAC working group for their DAO.
So you got me thinking here, and I'm always thinking. Like this show, for example, could I sign up as a contributor for people that are looking for sort of, podcast services through their DAO? Would that be something that's allowable on your platform?
Absolutely. It
Good,
would
I will.
be, yes, yeah. And we see that although your DAC, you might have maybe a larger business vision. Maybe you want to take the pathway of um, you want to onboard content creators, right? You want content writers, or you want people to do like reaching out to other people to see like who they can bring on to the podcast as well. So, you might want to allocate that work to other people to free up your time as a podcast host to then be able to expand your business in this way. So, and then you would use community as a way to use community members as a way to maybe incentivize them, or as a way to build up that community to essentially benefit your business, while they get also rewarded through other means such as reputation, and as well as monetary means. So yes, we can you can absolutely apply, and then we can give you that early access with that. And I encourage, I guess, everyone to come in, and if you have like a cool, unique use case, if you have a product or service or anything that you can provide to other DAOs, or other people that you currently have, we highly recommend that and encourage that. Um, and we will have campaigns as well to uh, more so incentivize that type of more people joining, essentially, because we do want to have like more feedback, and how they envision that type of future of work uh, in the Web 2/Web 3 space.
Very cool. Very cool. I see how this is going to work out in the end. I think that there's definitely a big hole in this type of market, and Telegram ain't the place to do business, right? That's where a lot of this happens, and it's just, it works in terms of communication, but in terms of actually structuring payments, like when there's real money involved, I think that this is a huge asset and a huge win, because I might want to get paid in fiat, and Fiverr's great for that. But if I want to get paid in crypto, there's really nothing out there that will allow me to do that, and nothing that will guarantee that the funds are actually there, where you're holding them in escrow in a smart contract, which we all know is the basis of our trustless enterprise that we've got in terms of crypto. So I think you've ticked a lot of boxes here. I've been trying to think here and poking holes in it, which is what I often do with my guests, but I haven't come up with much. So, kudos to you and the team. But is there any other features that we missed, or anything that you wanted to call out specific to it, or just in general? I'm happy to talk markets with you too, because I'm sure you've got a ton of insight from your perspective about where we are in the cycles.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess for the features perspective, like we we have a vision, right? We have that overall direction that we want to take, more so that future of work, or running your DAO like a business. But we also want to see um, just how other DAOs would use it, right? Like, for example, you have existing DAOs that utilize that working group structure, but then some DAOs can maybe transfer their entire business process to become a DAC. So we do want to see uh, people come in and see ways that they can start utilizing their DAC or their DAO for productivity uses. Right now, a lot of DAOs in the space are more of like they're sitting on a lot of capital. People can come in and they're used to fund, in a sense, like public goods. And then we want to have that perspective of, okay, great, we have the funding to now accomplish that public good, but we need a way to track progress. But maybe there's other ideas, other ways that we can expand the DAC model. And again, we're not trying to be different than just DAOs. We're not our own category. I would say we're more of like a subset of a DAO, where a DAO is, you have like overarching structure where everyone fits in, and then everyone can basically call themselves a DAO, and then they have, like different structures within it. We're a subset given that specific structure of being a DAC, or a decentralized autonomous company. So we sit within that DAO space, but then we're used for those business goals or actually getting work done. So yeah, that's. I know you asked like about the features, but I give more of like a philosophical.
That's okay.
Approach. But yeah, we're not trying to be in this case like separational from this. We're trying to embody what makes a DAO, but we're just trying to align people to use a DAO for that specific purpose. And yeah, because right now companies too are even starting their own DAOs, but they might not know, or many people don't know, like, okay, what is my DAO attempting to do? Like, what can we do with it? And then they try to mold the process and have like complicated structures, which then doesn't lean on like sustainability. Instead, we want to emphasize that businesses change, and with it, you have different members, different people, different change management, but we want to make this process as simple as it possibly can be, and leverage that high efficiency standpoint. So if there's any products or any visions that the community has on how they see DACs, like I would we would definitely consider that as part of like our future roadmap as well.
No, and I'm glad you're open to that feedback, because I think that, nobody has all the answers. Nobody knows where this is going, and it's going to take sort of our collective ideas coming together to figure out what works and what doesn't work. That's really going to shape sort of the future of what this is going to be. So it's good to make the distinction that you're not totally separate from a DAO. You are addressing an issue, but I think traditional DAO structure is, it's hard to call it dinosaur because it's probably only like 2 years old, right? But at the same time, like you said, businesses change, things are moving quickly, and it's difficult in the contract-based world to change with them, right? So it's a matter of having people in place that are adaptable. And I think the issue I have with traditional DAO structure is that it's pay to play, right? The whales tend to be the ones that control everything, but then you put something to a vote, like, okay, we need to develop this new dApp to go with our ecosystem. Well, does anyone know a developer? Well, yeah, my brother's sister-in-law's cousin's a web dev. He launched Shitcoin Inu, and he's definitely master of code, so we should go with him. Meanwhile, you guys are like, no, screw that approach. We've got people with certified reputations based on their bodies of work that are eager to work and want to do this in a professional way. That's a much better alternative to my my original scenario there. So yeah,
but who knows, maybe the person that is building that shitcoin, they also have like that expertise that person that building like that's a more legitimate thing is not. So there's different types of skill sets, and we don't want to like restrict or do anything. There's always a market.
Hey, that's fair.
For marketers and whatnot. So yeah, and glad that you can find relationships with that. And we definitely want to emphasize that distinctness, but also that like I want to know what's going on in my DAO rather than hopefully like overspending like government, for example.
That never happens.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Two Canadians here talking about government overspending. Meanwhile, I think the U.S. is now voting to just eliminate the debt ceiling entirely. It's like, it's gone.
It's like,
just print it. It'll go. Yeah, exactly. J. Pow. Oh, my God. Well, before we wrap up, something I try to do with all my guests is remove the corporate mask of the people here and find out a little bit about the actual individual. So what do you do when you're not immersed in Web3? I take it you're probably pretty committed to the Web3 lifestyle, but I mean, for fun, hobbies, interests, pursuits outside of, the crypto sphere. What are you into?
Oh, I'm gonna have to think about that.
Hey, if you think about it, then you gotta get a hobby, man. You gotta close that computer every once in a while.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like, outside of like being a founder and whatnot, traveling is part of the job. So, I mean, of course, I'm not going to be like, oh, I love traveling, and it's like basic, it's so basic. But outside of that, I ski a lot.
Cool.
I work many different ski type jobs, and so I definitely like a connoisseur, and that's one of the reasons why I'm going to Ether is exclusively because there's Breckenridge right after, and and I could just go down and then so definitely being in the mountains is where I basically will end up no matter where I am in the world. So
that's great, man.
The mountains are bringing me back to the roots.
You got to get in nature. I think is a powerful thing, and people get so stuck in this computerized world here, and they forget that nobody really gives a shit when you just go outside and walk into the woods or go look at the water, right? So don't lose that, right? Because you'll burn out otherwise. It's you need to find the balance.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And definitely like that's my I would say other passion other than just being on the computer 24/7 looking at crypto and definitely could go for a ski once in a while.
That's great to hear. Great to hear. Well, why don't you, for all of our listeners, just your URL, Twitter, like where do you want people to go to sort of learn more about everything that you're working on?
Sure. Yeah. I guess I'll say it. So for my Twitter, it would be at Pavel Sinel. So PAVEL_SINEL. And then there's the Koris application that we're talking about for the past hour. That's Koris.io, KORIS.io. And then I'm also, I previously worked with Metis, and that's also like, since we're building on their METIS. And yeah, that's basically all the shilling.
No, that's good. I'll throw all that in the show notes so everybody can click right through. But it's great just to remind people of why we're here. So
awesome.
I just want to say thanks, man. This was like literally fascinating. I'm just sitting here soaking it up because I know this is probably a nerdy episode for a lot of people listening, but I think it's important because builders got to build, right? This is the time to lay the foundation of what the next 3 to 5 years of anything in crypto is going to look like. And I think that you guys have, tackled an important part of how to make that happen. So I really appreciate you coming on and sharing everything that you're working on. So thank you for that.
And I appreciate for having me and to speak a lot about tech. I don't have too much opportunity outside my own head. So
no, it's good. So come back, come in a few months when everything's rolling. Maybe we can do an on-screen walkthrough of how to set it all up and show our viewers what you're all about. So I'd love that.
Absolutely, yeah. And then I'll get you in that wait list, and then hopefully you can see for yourself as well.
Might have to change it to the Rad DAC podcast. Who knows? Awesome. Well, thanks again, and I'm sure we'll talk soon, man. Take care.
Excellent. Sounds good. Thanks, Kyle.
Wow. I don't know about you guys, but I just learned a ton about what the future of working in Web3 could look like, and I believe that Pavel and his team will make sure that it becomes a reality. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you for coming on, sir. Come back in a few months and update us on that roadmap, and you best believe that I'll be signing up for that wait list, so make sure to get me in there, hey? Wink. Please make sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, that you have liked this video, and that you have left me a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app. There's a couple other ways that you can support the show. There is a MetaMask donation wallet address in the show notes below, as well as a couple referral links. So if you're feeling so inclined, please take advantage of them. They help support the show, and they will help me bring you more content. So with that, I really thank you for tuning in. I know your time is precious and I appreciate that you give it to me. So until next time, keep it rad. Thanks, fam.
The Rad DAO podcast is produced for entertainment and education purposes only. I know this because I'm not a licensed financial advisor. If you're thinking of investing in any of the tokens talked about during this episode, then I implore you to please do your own due diligence and, if necessary, consult with a licensed financial advisor.